All right, let's get into a story that really makes you think about the true price of starting a new life. It's a raw, personal account that asks a really tough question. When every official door is slammed shut in your face, what rules are you actually willing to break to build a future? Just listen to this sentence. These are the words of a supervisor talking about an immigrant street cleaner who just had the nerve to ask for a full-time job. Jamshut. It's a nasty slur. And with that one word, you can just feel the wall of prejudice our narrator was up against. You see, that moment, that insult, it wasn't just hurtful. It was the final push. It was the boiling point. He knew right then and there that the normal way, the right way, was completely closed off to him. If he wanted to move forward, he was going to have to take an incredible risk. And if you want to understand his desperation, you just have to look at this number, 130 pounds. That was his take-home pay for a week of work. It was a huge pay cut from the 300 a week he was used to. I mean, in a city like London, that's just not enough to survive on. So the bottom line is, he was trapped. As an agency worker, he was stuck with the absolute lowest pay. The real money, the shifts that paid double, even triple time, that was all locked away behind a full-time contract. And as we just heard, his supervisor made it crystal clear that door was bolted shut. So this brings us to the core of it, right? When you are backed into a corner with absolutely no legal or official way to make things better, what are your choices? Do you just accept it? Or do you decide to break the rules of the game entirely? Well, he chose to break the rules. If his real identity was the problem, his solution was simple. He just created a new one. Meet Thomas Zabreskis. And look, this wasn't some desperate last-minute thing. No, this was a cold, calculated business plan. He literally built a new person from the ground up, piece by piece, creating a worker who looked totally legitimate on paper. And this is where you see this whole other world, this hidden economy operating just beneath the surface. For a couple £100, a brand new identity was up for sale. He even got a discount on his fake work permit because his Lithuanian contacts in Stratford knew him. He was a regular customer. Can you believe that? Okay, so he's got the fake documents for Thomas Zabreskis in his pocket. Now it's time for the ultimate test. And get this, to make himself look more credible, he walks into a new employment agency while he's still wearing the uniform from his other street sweeping job. So he goes in, plays it cool, and explains he's just looking for a second job. Something at night to make a little extra money. The agent takes the papers and everything is going smoothly. They're filling out the forms. The bluff is actually working. And then, disaster. Right in the middle of the agent looking at his papers, his photo, the one thing tying him to this fake identity, it just peels right off the work permit and falls onto the desk. It's a complete catastrophe. The one thing that absolutely could not happen just happened. But what happens next is it's unbelievable. Instead of calling security or the police, the agent gets all flustered. They pick up the photo, apologize over and over, and try to stick it back on. They're worried that they broke his official document. The lie was so bold, so audacious, it just became the truth right there in the room. So he got the job. Thomas Zabreskis was officially on the payroll. But in solving his money problem, he had just walked into a brand new, physically brutal kind of reality for himself. His life was now split into these two grueling halves. He'd sweep the streets of London from dawn till the early afternoon. Then, with nowhere else to go, he'd find a spot in a public park to get a few hours of sleep before heading to a mail depot to load parcels all night long. And this relentless cycle just took a devastating toll. The exhaustion was so deep that one night he just passed out on the job. He only woke up because he was literally buried under a mountain of packages that had piled up from the conveyor belt. So think about this. His wild, high-risk plan, it actually worked. He got the money. But the cost was his own health, pushing his body to the absolute brink of human endurance. And it leaves us all with a really difficult question to chew on. When you finally get what you fought for, how do you really know if the price was worth it?